Housewives Gone Wild.
Like,
Hi,
I'm Jen.
I'm Corey.
And we are
Deep
Dark
and Scary.
Welcome to our channel. Welcome back to our channel. It's nice to see your lovely faces. I apologize for what you are about to hear. It wasn't as horrible as anime, but it was pretty bad.
Right.
So spoiler alert, we're gonna go through this movie. Probably kind of like the Batman movie if you've seen that video. If not, look at our playlist. It was really long, over an hour and a half. Really long for a bad movie anyway.
Right.
Corey had to wake me up. I started falling asleep. It's supposed to be a scary movie. We were all excited about George Romero week. My choice, obviously. I always pick the wrong one. I even gave him...
Faceless.
Right? I thought Faceless was hilarious, at least. It kept me awake. This one was a snooze fest. And a lot of people are going to disagree with us. I only know that because I read the reviews. So I narrowed it down to two movies. Martin, which is like a vampire-ish movie, and Season of the Witch, which is supposedly one of George Romero's best movies besides
Martin.
The
Night of the
Living Dead.
Mm-hmm.
And I've already seen Night of the Living Dead, so I don't want to rewatch a movie.
Mm-hmm.
And so I narrowed it down to those two, Martin or Season of the Witch. And we watched the trailer for both movies, and Martin just looked horrifically awful boring.
And Season of the Witch is on Amazon Prime, so it's included with your subscription.
And we couldn't find Martin. That was a little bit more difficult.
We would have had to have watched it on YouTube. Season of the Witch, the trailer though, Amazon sometimes, if there's not if it's an older movie, they just put a clip of the movie in there, and it was really weird looking, kind of like The Shining. And I'm like, this might not be bad. So...
It was not good.
It was horrible.
Corey and I differ a little bit. Because I really like the beginning, and I really like the end, or towards the end. But there was a lot right smack dab in the middle when Corey had to wake me up. It was just a lot of nonsense that really didn't add to the storyline at all. And I'm like, why? Why are they talking about this? Why?
So we're going to kind of give you just an overview of it because...
Oh, yeah. So we chose Season of the Witch.
Yeah. By the way. and a complete summary of the movie is impossible. We'll just give you kind of an overview. The movie was released in 1973. It was released originally under the name Hungry Wives, which even when the movie came up, it said Hungry Wives on it. It does say Season of the Witch on Amazon. That's what you have to search. But it says it's called Hungry Wives. And the promotional trailer, I'll put a picture of it up here, but it's caviar in the kitchen, nothing in the bedroom. Hungry Wives with an appetite for diversion.
Pretty much the basic overview of the movie is this wife is bored and has some mental issues, and she's seeing a therapist. She has some dreams and is basically looking, she even mentions it in the first probably 10 minutes of the movie, that she wants to have sex with someone else because she's not getting any from her boring husband who goes on trips for work all the time and leaves her home alone. And they live with their 19-year-old daughter who's getting some, and she gets really jealous and basically turns to witchcraft because one of her lady friends is a witch, and brings her for a tarot card reading and kind of introduces her to this
lifestyle or
religion, whatever you want to call it. And she buys a book and starts reading up on it and totally has herself convinced that she is
Did
a
she
witch.
even buy the book, or did she?
No, I don't know if
She came home.
and it was on the bed.
It was on that. It was on
Or
the
that
table in
table,
the island
yeah.
in the kitchen. Yeah. So they have like this little. After they go for the tarot card reading, she goes back, and her and the lady that she went to the tarot card reading with come in. Like the daughter and this guy are there who was in one of her dreams. She has these really weird dreams in the beginning, and he's like the handyman, and he's there, and he's like, "Don't I know you?" And she's like,
He
"We've
ends
never
up
met."
being one of her daughter's professors.
Mm-hmm.
Only he's really young, like a very young professor. And they portray her as to be like maybe early to mid 40s, because then she's got a friend who is early to mid 50s who is literally having a nervous breakdown.
She feels like she's
house.
damaged goods, and
Yeah.
no one's ever gonna want her, and she's still got some youth left in her. And
I mean, there's a lot of psychology going on in this. I mean, there's not so much like
midlife crisis.
definitely. That was my very first feeling when she had her first couple of dreams and then started talking about being bored and
Maybe
wanting to have an affair.
early stages of menopause, and she's going through some
Something.
hormone changes. Yeah.
But she was just looking for something to latch onto and feel like she was a part of, I think, and that's kind of where the witchcraft comes in. And she has just a ton of dreams, and that the whole middle of the movie is her having strange dreams, and then part of them kind of coming true if you read into things. Like,
well, there was like that
really
long
weird.
section where it was like the party. I say it's a party. It was like 4 people, but I thought that the older lady was drinking water, and I'm guessing it was like a gin or something like that. But she's drinking that, and then they decide to fake. They have this big philosophical discussion on things can happen if you in your mind you can just think about it and it'll happen. So like ulcers and stuff like that, and he's like, "Watch, I want to make her think that she's high. She's gonna smoke." He takes a cigarette and he just breaks off the filter while she's out of the room and makes it look like it's illegal substance. Yeah. And has her smoke it, and then she starts acting like she's stoned out of her mind.
And he like pressures her for answers to questions like, why are you so upset? Why are you so mad? And just starts pressuring her like, what do you really want out of life? And why are you acting this way? And she like literally has a meltdown in the chair. And while the lead character is just sitting there kind of watching, she tries to stop him a couple of times, and then you can tell she becomes interested in this conversation they're having where he's telling her, you can manifest anything you want, you just need to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
And if you believe it's happening. So she kind of takes that to heart. And that scene they were talking about, her daughter's there as well watching this all go down, because she's boinking her professor.
Right. So then the daughter and the professor ends up, like, she kicks him out, and then the lady, the older lady, is like, "You need to drive me home.
Just stay at my house so
my
my husband
husband
doesn't beat me up," basically.
Yeah, so she's like, "Okay, I'll stay." She tells her daughter that she's going to stay at her friend's house, and then she drops her off, and the lady just kind of stumbles up to the door.
I
And
was like, I don't think it's a good idea if you stay, because she was all angry about something, and they don't even say really what. Oh, the situation. She's more or less like, why didn't you stop him? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And so then she's kind of mad. So she ends up going home and just leaving this lady with her husband. And you could see her husband standing, like his shadow in the doorway, just watching her stumble and fall in the yard.
So then she gets home and she hears noises coming from her daughter's room, and it's her and the professor going at it. So she goes to her room, locked. I swear she locks the door, but she's in there and the book's there, and she starts rolling around like she's gonna start messing with herself, and then she does. She gets frustrated, and I looked at Jen and I'm like, this is really weird. Like, your daughter's in the next room moaning, and you're getting off on that.
That's what I had to tell Corey. I'm like, if you're looking at it psychologically, though, she's super jealous of her daughter right now. Like, you can see it on her face. You can just tell by all her reactions. And then, like, out of nowhere, the daughter comes and just swings the door wide open and is like, really, Mom? How long have you been here? And
the mom's just sitting there smoking a cigarette.
Yeah.
Like,
what is going on?
Yeah, so then she gets all frustrated and she leaves, and then the next morning they can't find her, all her stuff's gone, so the daughter runs away. But she's
fine.
Old enough to run away.
She's 19, so they don't really
so then
do anything
the
about
dad gets all ticked off, and you didn't do anything, you didn't call, and he's like, I'll just handle it. And then the cops are there, and they're getting information, and the mom knows... The mom knows what the guy looks like. She knows his name. She knows what kind of car he drives because they show it. So he's like, the cop's like, what kind of vehicle was it? Oh, it was this little sporty thing. So it wasn't like a Volkswagen. It was a Volkswagen Bug. She's like, no. It had like this weird trunk on it or something. And she said she didn't know the guy's name. And
she just kept a bunch of information from them because she knew, right?
And she's like, I think, and the one cop's like, he's like, why don't you let us do the thinking for you? And he goes to lean back, and his arms land on the piano, and he like shoots up.
Let us do the thinking, Mr. Mitchell.
And that's like the only chuckle I really got out of that movie was an idiot cop.
Right.
But let us do the thinking for you, lady. And then she goes and sees the professor at the college.
At the college, and confronts him and says, you know where my daughter is, blah, blah, blah. And they have this weird, I wouldn't call it a connection, but like, he multiple times when he was in her home the first time was saying, I'm not coming on to you. I don't know what you're thinking or why you're thinking that, but I'm not coming on to you. And then literally when she goes to see him at the school, they have the exact same conversation again. Because she's literally like all dolled up and dressed up and looking really nice just to go talk to this professor to try and find her daughter or get some information.
I think he was like a little bit of reverse psychology with her.
Yeah.
Like... I'm not coming on to you, but as he's coming on to her, just to...
That's what I said. It was really
plant the
just
seed.
Weird. Yeah. Well, what is it? 2 nights later, the husband's gone on about a week. He said he'd be gone on a business trip. And so she
starts having those dreams again, but the dreams get weirder, and there's this guy in her dream that's...
with a mask on that's trying to rape her.
Yeah, trying to break in her house and rape her.
And she has it multiple times, and it's basically the same thing.
Each time, like the first time, the front door's been locked from the outside with a belt holding it shut so she can't get out.
Yeah.
And then
the second time was a chain.
And I'm like, oh, well, maybe it's like she feels like she's trapped in her life or whatever. But I was trying to psychoanalyze it, and I read it. I guess I read too much into it, maybe a little bit.
No, it was very close. Like, she definitely feels trapped in a marriage, obviously, and a family that she's not happy with. But
so she starts reading this book about, it's like To Be a Witch, a primer. Mm-hmm. And she goes to this seedy part of town and goes into the shop and starts buying all these different things, a cauldron and some candles.
Yeah, she basically wants to do a ritual and well, I guess it wouldn't be a manifestation. But
it's kind of like a love potion or a seduction type deal, but She wants
She wants the professor to come take care of her. Basically, is what it is.
come give her some private lessons.
Yeah.
So
basically, it's what it is, and he does show up.
But he doesn't show up on his own. She calls him, and I'm like, well, that's the...
She did a little seance.
Or ritual.
The ritual thing, and then he shows up after she calls him.
Yeah. She's like, were you expecting a call from an older lady?
Oh, yeah.
And then they end up going at it on the floor, and then...
It's always on the floor.
Yeah, and then he calls her Mrs. Robinson, which was kind of funny.
Like all the time. And then he like makes her say thank you, and it's weird.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Their relationship is weird.
So
then he leaves,
and then
she starts having dreams again.
That the guy's breaking in and assaulting her.
Yeah.
So she calls him up again. She gets up, and then the first time she had called him, she didn't even have his number anywhere nearby. She just picked up the phone and dialed it like she knew it by heart. Second time, she opens this little book, and she had got a call from the police. She gets woken up because the phone rings.
Oh, they found her daughter.
They found her daughter.
But that's it. That's all you hear about the daughter the rest of the movie, and there's another half hour left. I'm like,
so she takes the book out, and she's like, she makes a phone call. I thought she was calling her husband.
No, but she
calls dude over.
Yeah, and she has a couple of lines while he's there that he's like, well, I'm not going to be able to see you again after this because they found my daughter. And I'm like, you're an idiot.
Oh, well,
Why?
Yeah, well, before that, before they hooked up the second time, she wanted help with this ritual. She's like, hey, I need your help. I'm scared. I'm a witch. I don't know what's going on, but I'm really scared and I need 2 people. And she shows him the stuff, and he's like, you're crazy. So then they end up...
He pulls her to the ground, and they go at it again.
And then while he's sleeping...
She does the ritual.
She does the ritual and summons someone, and this cat comes in and starts going through the house. And then she does the ritual, and then he comes up and grabs her, and then...
They go at it
again. And afterwards, that's when she tells him, hey, my daughter's coming back. Like, I'm not going to be able to see you anymore. And he's like, you're lost, lady.
Yep, and he leaves.
And he leaves. And then...
she goes back to sleep and starts having that same dream that somebody's breaking in again.
And this time she's like out in the yard and everything looks perfect. And I thought it was a flash forward, her daughter being home. She's finally a witch. But it was a dream sequence. And then she goes in and she's doing laundry, and all of a sudden all the lights go really dark. And she starts seeing the shadows again, so she grabs a shotgun. But she can't get the shotgun loaded in time to shoot the devil or the demon. She wakes up, and her husband's coming home from the trip.
So she shoots who she thinks is this man in the devil mask trying to get into her home, and it's her husband trying to get in because she had locked like the inside chain lock, so he unlocks the door but can't get in. So she automatically thinks, because in every one of her dreams he tries to get in,
and then puts his hand through the window and tries to undo the chain.
And she shoots.
And that's what her husband does, and she doesn't know, so she shoots.
Yeah, and kills him, and he's dying on the front lawn, and she's at the top of the stairs and kind of slumps down and drops the gun and kind of freaking out, right? And the whole time they have, like, someone talking in the background, like the
police
cops,
officers
or investigators. They're like, women get away with everything. She'll get away with it anyway.
Self-defense.
It looks like, or she claimed someone was trying to break in, and it was her husband, and
he showed back up a day.
But they kept kind of putting down women her age. They always get away with things, and
yeah, cause I mean, in her defense, he came home a day early. She didn't know. He didn't call ahead.
And then that was it. And then the credits rolled.
Well, there was the little dinner scene afterwards where all the catty women that she plays cards with were hanging out.
That wasn't. Yeah, I guess
her bridge
it was
club
a little,
or whatever. Yeah.
But then they actually show her being inducted into this.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Black magic clan.
When the cops are getting.
They're talking.
They were talking. They flashed between her husband's dead body and this induction into the coven, and then afterwards her bridge club standing around, like her group of friends.
Yeah, and she looks younger, and people are starting to notice, and then she finally says it out loud.
Yeah, she tells the
She's
lady
like, "I'm a
that
witch."
introduced her to the tarot lady, the tarot witch.
Because she's like, I just can't get over it. You look so much younger. And she's like, I'm a witch. All right.
That's
Credits
all
roll.
that happened.
The movie was interesting. I think reading a lot of the reviews about people that loved this movie was more interesting to me. It was just so much slow stuff that had nothing to do with what we were watching.
Yeah.
Like, you could, if you really wanted to psychoanalyze the movie itself, you could totally do that with all the slow parts in the middle. But we watch movies for entertainment. I don't really want to think.
Right.
Or I don't want to think too hard about something. So there was a lot of undertones in this movie about just midlife crisis. Not my favorite.
How many stars you give it?
2.
I would have given it 1.5.
I mean, the beginning was entertaining. Those dream flashes were entertaining. You kind of get a little insight into what the heck is going on in her mind. And then the fact that she talks to a therapist multiple times throughout the movie, it's like sporadic. And he said, the therapist at one point, it's the very first time she sees him, says, the person least experienced enough,
Least qualified
to analyze your dreams is the dreamer. And I was like, you're an idiot.
So yeah, it came out in 72, 73, so it was early 70s. Right when movies were just starting to, in my mind, get good,
decent. The blood was, when we're looking at special effects, was really, really, really orange.
They did
red.
Some special effects where they were driving, and you know how you usually have the lights flashing by and stuff. Well, it was like Attack of the 50-Foot Woman. It would like go through them, and it was because they superimposed them over some lights and stuff.
That was comical. But we weren't really looking at that for this movie. We knew it wasn't going to be like that. We knew it wasn't going to be like gory or, anything like that. But
there was a little nod to Rosemary's Baby in there, and I think they mentioned the movie. This might have been Romero's attempt at maybe making a Rosemary's Baby without the whole Son of Satan thing in there.
Yeah, it was definitely the typical setup with the cauldron and the candles you would see.
The cult aspect of it. So this wasn't so much a horror movie as it was like a midlife crisis movie.
Yeah, it was definitely not a horror. What's next week?
Next week, it's actually going to be a pretty fun week. We might do a comedy.
It's Corey's turn to pick, so hopefully it'll be good.
We might do
my choices have not turned out.
We might do a comedy next week because of the actor that we have to choose from.
Oh, Jackie Chan!
It's Jackie Chan week.
Oh, that's awesome! Rush Hour.
Yeah, and all the Kung Fu Pandas. Oh, there's Enter the Dragon. Yeah, so.
Ooh, The Foreigner was a really good movie. Really good.
So we'll find something in here. Around the World in 80 Days.
There's so many, but I've seen so many. Might have to pick an older.
Cannonball Run. I totally forgot Jackie Chan was in Cannonball Run.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's gonna be fun. It's probably gonna be.
Have to pick an older one, just one that I've never seen.
Yeah, and maybe we'll try to find one with a little bit of a horror.
I think there's going to be too many.
I don't think there's going to be too many.
Serious or comedic, I think. There's not much in the middle.
Right?
I mean, serious comedy, I've seen him with a straight face, so maybe.
All right.
But yeah, it's going to be good. Well, if you guys have any comments, if you've seen this movie, because it seems to be a very popular George Romero movie,
Right.
Let us know what you think about it and what your idea was as to some of the weird stuff in it. Like, calling it Season of the Witch is kind of odd to me. What was it, Hungry Housewives or whatever?
Yeah.
That kind of fit a little bit better. Or anything with divorcees, or, I mean, I guess there weren't really there was one divorcee, but there wasn't much witch aspect to it.
I said if you're going to call this movie Season of the Witch, it better have Season of the Witch by Donovan in it.
Must be the season of the witch.
And
only like
it did.
less than 30 seconds, but it was in there in the background. All right, well, thanks for joining us. We appreciate each and every one of you. Please like and subscribe and
smash the bell.
Yes, and share with your friends so we can build a family.
Build a family. our little horror family.
Our little deep, dark, scary family. We'll see you next time.
Bye.